And the next session now is a continuation around this. It is going to introduce to you some of the international geodesy initiatives that are currently running within the world, but also some of the organizations behind those. And I'm also going to introduce you further to some partner organizations who we encourage you to investigate and potentially become members and active participants in as well. Thanks, Nick. I must also, and it was an error on my side, not to acknowledge the contributors to the earlier presentation, but also to this presentation. So you see a number of names there, and they are from some of the organizations that will be mentioned in this slide deck as well. The purpose of this session, again, is to provide this open understanding and awareness of the activities. I'm going to move the Q&A session to the end, and we can maybe take it during the coffee break. But hopefully it sets a little bit more the scene around how you as organizations, as universities, but also as individuals can get involved in some of these geodesy initiatives and develop your own skills and networking capabilities. Firstly, I'm going to talk around some of the geodesy organizations. And one of the umbrella organizations is IUGG, the International Union of Geodesy and Geophysics. And that is a 106-year-old organization, which essentially is an umbrella over a number of specific technical institutions and commissions and organizations. And it oversees and helps to collaborate and coordinate their activities under their respective missions. There are 74 member countries here, the dark green countries. The light green countries are former members. And I would love to use this graphic also to encourage the African region also to evaluate and to reach out and investigate becoming members of either IUGG or some of the other partners here earlier on, because that gives you then a fantastic opportunity to liaise and collaborate with your scientific peers and the industry-leading experts in the different fields that you're going to hear about. For example, the different associations that are under the umbrella of IUGG, and here's a few that you can see, they have regular assemblies and gatherings and organizations and events where they share best practice, where they investigate new technologies, new techniques, and new approaches. They also have a number of different channels for communication, which again is another part where you can keep informed of these different activities and what is happening. And some of the e-journals that the IUGG's members have are very worthwhile. One of its members is the International Association of Geodesy, IAG, which you will have seen already. And the IAG is specifically looking into geodesy. And we all know what geodesy is, but this is a nicely summarized statement here as well. With the main aim, the main vision of establishing and disseminating the terrestrial reference frame. The organizational structure, as with many of these organizations, which have lots of different departments and groups and sister organizations, is very significant, but there is a lot of research and a lot of activity being done under there. Some of the commissions which are extremely relevant to us are the Commission 1 on reference frames, but also Commission 2 on gravity, Earth rotation, and so on. So this is where the individual experts will be able to seek a lot of information about this best practice. It's very interesting also to note that these organizations, associations, also have specific communication and outreach branches. They have marketing and communication specialists as part of their organization structure. We'll come to this tomorrow, but we identified during our research that we wouldn't have imagined that a very technical association would need marketing or communication, but they do, because they realize that is the most effective way of getting their knowledge and experience across to non-experts. And that really is critical. That really is important. This is a snapshot of some of the member services within IUGG, and you'll see a few of these IAG and IGS, which I'll talk further on later. But some of these other groups also are working on specific parts of geodetic infrastructure or data processing. Very important. There is also GGOS, and I'm going to pass this over to Alita tomorrow to talk more about this, but I will introduce GGOS, the Global Geodetic Observing System, which again falls under IUGG. You've seen already some of the graphics of the coverage and the involvement of services such as the IGS, the ILRS for laser ranging, the VLBI service, IVS, and also the DORIS service. In terms of GGOS, the Global Geodetic Observing System, this was established in 2003 as a project and then became a full component of IAG in 2007. And again, they're working together to try to provide that expertise and infrastructure around delivering that global geodetic reference frame. They also have very strong links and connections, of course, with the IAG, but also other groups such as Earth observations as well. Jump over these. There is also the IGS network, and I'll take a few moments to go through a few slides on this because this is relevant to us where the GNSS cores infrastructure is as part of geodetic infrastructure. We're also very fortunate to have a member of the IGS here as well, Mr. Barley. Thank you. And I'm also a representative of FIG to IGS as well. And this global community is focusing around making available the highest quality GNSS data for scientific purposes. So orbits, clocks, precise orbits, clocks, biases, they are all part of the products that the IGS community and its partners are developing, which go together, allowing geodesists to realize the terrestrial reference frame, as well as supporting position, navigation, and timing applications using GNSS. We've seen the IGS network a few times, so I'm going to pass over that. But one of the facts still is coverage in Africa is definitely an area of importance for the IGS community. And I'll be talking a little bit more about an event which we'd very much like to get you involved at. When you look here and see how many operational green cores are contributing to this, there is definitely an opportunity to improve and expand on this. One aspect of capacity development that the IGS community do, which is definitely worth your consideration and review, is the IGS cores guidelines for continuously operating reference stations. Here is a QR code to access the latest version of these guidelines, which I believe are just over a year old or around that. I believe that they are going to be available, if not in French and Spanish and some different languages. So for those, I think Aslam was mentioning yesterday around being aware or being directed towards guidelines for IGS stations and core stations can be very useful when you are thinking of modernizing or developing or requesting GNSS cores infrastructure for your nation. I'll jump over these because you can see them. The IGS Site Log Manager also is a very useful tool for managing data around cores infrastructure. And you can easily add your core station into IGS so long as it meets the requirements of data quality and installation quality and so on. One opportunity which I would like to share with you is to consider as an individual, as a private individual, is to consider becoming or applying for associate membership of the IGS so that you can be kept informed of its activities and as an individual learn more, be invited to events, participate in webinars. And this is a free membership. You just need to apply for it and be selected. But it's definitely something that I would encourage interested people to do. I would also like to take the opportunity about an upcoming webinar about the IGS that has a spotlight on Africa. So there is a plan to hold a webinar, which will be around 3.5 hours on Wednesday, the 4th of June, with a spotlight on Africa. talking around IGS activities in Africa. Fernand will be one of the co-hosts of this organization. So I'm going to leave that slide up here, or actually I'm going to send you a web link. You won't have to go. I'll send it the web link right now so that you can consider to apply for that. Oops. So it's through in the WhatsApp group, but this is an online webinar, again, free, that if you have the time will be very interesting for you to learn more about the IGS and its activities and its aspirations for the African region. FIG is the International Federation of Surveyors. I'm the current chair of a commission on positioning and measurement, which includes GNSS applications, traditional surveying applications, and also the geodetic activities. FIG is a very well-established organization, founded in 1878 in Paris, and is a federation of national surveying associations and organizations. So it is not staffed, or it doesn't comprise of governmental members. It's actually the surveying and geodetic associations become a member or a partner of FIG. It's the only international body representing all surveying disciplines: geodesy, land surveying, engineering surveying, hydrographic surveying, valuation surveying, and others. And it's a UN recognized organization as an NGO and a non-profit organization. This is a recent snapshot of its membership status, and all of those countries in red are current members. And we also have academic partners and affiliates. And this is one where we have a strong membership from the Africa region, but would very much like to see an increased membership, where surveying associations become a member and can participate in our activities at FIG. It, like many of the organizations, has its own structure, but some of the ones which I think are most relevant are the commissions in the bottom left, and these are the specialisms of FIG. As I mentioned, positioning and measurement from Commission 5 looks after geodesy, which is especially relevant to this community, and our other commissions look after the different aspects. We have also networks, the regional networks I talked about, and also task forces and an FIG foundation. I mentioned already the Young Surveyors Network, but FIG also has task forces that have a specific 4-year focus on topical activities, and these are our current task forces, but probably the one which is, well, most important in my mind is the surveyor's profession and developing inclusion, embracing the diversity across the surveying community, but also recognizing that we have to bring together our young surveyors and our young experts to be able to work together, to talk and collaborate across borders especially. There are many publications within the FIG community, and some of them that I'm going to share, I actually did see one of our technical publications on reference frame in practice on somebody's desk over there. I'll talk a little bit more about that. Some other aspects where I would encourage you to consider the FIG community, and we have an annual event. Our last working week in 2024 was in Accra in Ghana, where I was very fortunate to meet for the first time some African colleagues here as well. I'm nice to see them here. And our most recent event, I'm sorry, I must put there the reference frame in practice workshop, which is a 1.5-day workshop to share knowledge and experience around geodesy and reference frames in particular. And I know the picture is not so good, but you might be able to recognize a few people in there, including Nick sitting to me, Isabu, also Rachel, Aslam in there, and I think there's a few others in there as well. And we're also very lucky to have very good support from the private sector, with support from Trimble Navigation, and also from the United Nations International Committee for GNSS. There was also Fernand as well. Yes, and Israel. Yes. Our most recent event was in Brisbane last month, and we had Commission 5, for example. We held 7 technical sessions that received 670 attendees. We had 55 presentations, all talking around positioning, measurement, and geodesy across our working groups. We also had very strong representation from our Pacific community, New Zealand, Australia, and internationally. So this is also where organizations such as FIG are extremely powerful with the international connections, being able to provide a platform for countries and organizations to share their activities, their status, and also their requests for assistance. I'm going to quickly jump into the next one, which already Aslam highlighted for me yesterday. But the next FIG event will be our Congress, which happens every 4 years, and it will be in Cape Town in South Africa. So we'll have been 2 times in a term in the Africa region having our working weeks or events. And we would very much like to invite you to come and be part of the FIG Congress. It will actually be a 6-day event, 2 days of technical workshops beforehand and 4-day program. And I will be sending out some calls for abstracts, but would very much like to see as many of you as possible to come and present and talk around your geodesy, your surveying, and your activities, and share it with the global community. To finish this off, I also would like to mention another partner of the UN-GGCE. It's also a UN organization. It's the International Committee on GNSS. And this is an organization which is run out of the Office for Outer Space Affairs, which is headquartered in Vienna, Austria. And this is an organization, an association which was established thanks to the efforts of 3 organizations. It was the International Association of Geodesy, it was FIG, and it was also, I believe, IUGG, who said that there is a very strong need as a meeting forum for the satellite GNSS providers to get together, to share information about their current system, about their future developments, not only for end users, but also to identify where the different GNSS constellation providers could collaborate together. One of the other important aspects and the motivations for developing this community was when each of these constellations was first launched, they were all running off their own geocentric datum. So there was WGS84 for GPS, there was PZ90 for GLONASS and others, while the user community through FIG and IAG identified it's extremely difficult for us to use the measurements from multiple constellations if there is not some coordination or some one international terrestrial reference frame that is at least available and common and can be realized and accessed through the signals. So this was an extremely important meeting, and it's just gone from strength to strength. The last meeting was in New Zealand last year, and FIG is also one of the co-chairs of the working group around GNSS applications and reference frames. And we were very fortunate also to have the center, the GGCE, to come and give also a keynote plenary at that event, bringing up the important topic around the sustainability of the global geodetic reference frame and the fact that we are in a risky situation where without continued and increased investment in geodetic infrastructure, that all of these GNSS providers will feel the deterioration, will feel the impact if geodetic infrastructure is not kept on and modernized and operated. I mentioned already some of the working groups within the ICG. They talk about signals and spectrum and performance. They even talk there about capacity building, how the GNSS providers share information about how GNSS and its technologies and applications can be used for scientific activities, with space weather and disaster management being some of the most important and relevant activities at the current time. We also, a number of the groups, and Working Group D also, has been promoting the publication of a policy brief on the use of GNSS for disaster risk reduction. Because of course, disasters and their effects on nations are significant. But hopefully it also identifies to you that there are these activities, these development funds and organizations are listening to this. They're realizing, yes, we should have more coordination. We should realize that disaster risk reduction can use GNSS as a very important tool at all aspects, especially after a disaster happens. And this is also another aspect where if there were emergency response teams coming in from another nation to support your nation, all of their surveying and mapping and activities would be based on an international terrestrial reference frame. And then it highlights the issues. If your current frame is not aligned to ITRF, those mismatches, as the example that Nick gave around the bushfire in Australia. If the datums are not aligned, there can be a lot of time and potentially life lost in that. As I close off this particular session, I just want to inform you all and let you know that all of these organizations that I've talked about here, with the exception of the UN-ICG Secretariat, all of these other organizations essentially are volunteers. They are industry experts providing these skills, helping to organize workshops, write publications, all in their own time. Very few, if any of them, are able to do this during their official work days. And unfortunately, that's also one of the challenges that we have within the Geodesy community, is that a lot of this volunteering and capacity building is best efforts. And that's critical. That's almost as weak and unsustainable as the geodetic reference frame and geodetic infrastructure. So that's also one thing to consider, and that's why we also invite people who are interested is to contribute and volunteer their time to such activities. And finally, some further activities, but I'm going to finish it off now and open the floor to ask if there are any questions or comments around any of these international Geodesy initiatives and organizations and partnerships. I'm also interested to know if some of these are new to you, or some people are already members or individual members around this. So the floor is open. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan, for this. I've been a member of International Association of Geodesy from 2018, and this has been my analysis. I think as Africans, we need to learn to collaborate. It is clear. Me and Dr. Yap there, we were supported by the International Association of Geodesy to go and attend the 14th International Geoid School in Argentina. But from my experience, I needed reference letters from fellows of the International Association of Geodesy. And in Africa, you have one in Egypt, some in Kenya, the Nigerian ones are also there, and that was it. The ones in Africa, I felt like they were not willing to support. So as Africans, what are we doing to fellow Africans? I had to get support from someone outside Africa. And that's how I was able to secure a place. The professors of Geodesy, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the fellowship is given to professors. That's what I have noticed. The professors of Geodesy, why don't we apply? Be the fellows there. We should not look for all support, we should not look for it outside. We should be coming to you. And when we send you these emails, we should get feedback. This is the truth. Let's get feedback. Let's learn to support each other. That has been the thing that I front for. If a fellow geodesist is asking for help, if those guys are willing, they have the money. I know International Association of Geodesy has money, and they are willing to support Africans. But we need those people that have gone ahead of us to do something. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruno. Last question, so we can give the translators a break.
Okay, Ryan. I was just interested in the membership you just mentioned there, and probably to participate in some of the activities of the IGS. But it looks like you should be belonging to a your particular organization must really be very active in the IGS, because I was just looking at, as you were talking, going through the application process. But now if you are not connected to any organization that is actively involved with IGS, then it seems like it's difficult to become a member. Thanks.
Thank you, Ryan, for the presentation. I just want to say something on why the participation of Africa in the International Geodesy Initiative has some challenges. But myself, I'm the Secretary General of IUGG in Nigeria. If you go to the website, you will see the secretariat, colleagues from Potsdam. When we have meetings, I sponsor myself. When we did the centenary of the IUGG, I funded my trip to France, to Paris. And most persons that are participating are people from the academia. And how much do they earn? So there is a poor funding for members from universities and research institutes that are critically members of this IAG, because IAG is a sub-organization in IUGG. And there are other, IOSPO is there, there are other activities that are going on that even IAG members can benefit. But until your country pays off their dues, for instance, today Nigeria is like an observing member. If I attend a meeting, I cannot vote because my country is owing about $25,000 or $30,000 as dues. So this is where Africa is lagging behind. Until this moment, I'm the Secretary General of IGG National Commission in Nigeria. But when you are going for a meeting, you fund and the problem is that as an academic, you may not be able to have such money. So like he said, we are not going to blame ourselves here. We need to go back and do more work, talk to our MDAs, or ministries, departments, and agencies that are responsible for geodesy and related disciplines to be able to fund and register people to be members of this international geodesy initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Lazarus. Okay, very important things. I think just before we break, I think this also identifies that there is a very good opportunity for collaboration and coordination within Africa to share with each other the respective experiences and also to build up some of that regional leadership about how can we in the region get more engaged? How can we get involved? And that also leads in nicely tomorrow to the communication activities. How potentially can we craft these requests to have potentially some regional focus or a regional group within some of those organizations should not be considered. So I'm going to invite you now to take a 30-minute coffee break, be back at 3:30, and we're going to have some regional reports, country reports. Thank you.